Well, good evening and welcome to the latest installment in our spring open house series. I'm Lynn Varecchia from the Office of Admission. I'm joined by current Holy Cross students who will introduce themselves in just a moment. Closed captioning is enabled tonight when you can access it at the top of your screen via the Live on Custom Live Streaming Service button. And this presentation is also being recorded for later viewing. I want to congratulate the admitted students tuning in tonight and welcome your guests. This has been a very challenging year and you've weathered many twists and turns throughout your college search. Some of you have already committed to Holy Cross and we're so happy to have you here tonight and really excited to welcome you to campus in the fall. But we know that many of you are still weighing your college options and we want to help you to learn more about what makes Holy Cross special. Tonight's topic is Students in Solidarity, Service, and Social Justice. Our panelists will share information about their experiences, but we also want to answer your questions. So please feel free to enter them in the Q&A box at any time, and we'll answer them via chat or live throughout the presentation. For the panelists, I'll open it up for you to introduce yourselves, share a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what you're involved with, and also I would love to hear the reason or reasons why you chose to enroll at Holy Cross.
Hi, I'm Alex and I'm a sophomore econ major from Portland, Oregon, and I'm actually going to be answering questions in the chat, so if you get a response in there, it's probably from me. The reason I chose Holy Cross is because I really felt a different community when I stepped on campus visiting here in high school, and that's definitely continued on in my years so far at school. So yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Tara Mcguire. I am a senior here at the college. I'm a psych major and a religious studies minor, and I participate in all things around service and social justice and faith, but also in orientation and through the admissions office, certain opportunities. But I chose Holy Cross when I decided to come here because I had a few family members to come here and they really raved about it, but what sold me the most was the aspect of community and how driven we were to not only be in Worcester, but be a part of the Worcester community outside the gates.
Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you once again for joining us here tonight. My name's Aiden Rupert, and I'm a junior at the college, majoring in psychology and sociology with a minor in German. I'm from Rochester, New York, and there are a lot of reasons that I chose Holy Cross, one of them being just how strong the social science programs here at the college are. But also I came from a Jesuit high school in Rochester. Shout out to Mcguire Jesuit. That's one of the reasons, or one of the things that led me to Holy Cross. And I definitely have not been disappointed in the slightest in Holy Cross's approaches to social justice and really how social justice in many ways is interwoven in the curriculum here at the college.
Hello everyone, my name is Stacy Paulino. I'm a sophomore here at the college. I'm originally from Providence, Rhode Island, so approximately like an hour away. I'm a sociology major with a concentration in Latin American, Latinx, and Caribbean studies. I came to Holy Cross because I was fortunate enough to do an overnight stay program where I was able to tour the campus, stay with the host, and I was also able to attend a class. And it was a really great experience because I met so many students who didn't even know that I was touring, and they were so nice to me. Whenever I was lost, they would help me out, open doors for me. It was a really welcoming campus. Aside from that, the class that I attended was a small class, and the professor seemed so passionate about what he was teaching, and all the students were very much engaged in the overall course. And I just really love the sense of community, the fact that we had small classes and it has so many major minor and concentration opportunities that I just couldn't help but to come here.
Hi everyone, it's really nice to be here tonight with you all on Zoom. My name is Michaela Lake and I'm a junior. I'm studying psychology with a minor in education, and I'm from Fairhaven, New Jersey. I'm currently living on campus this semester. I am involved in a lot of different social justice opportunities at the college through either immersion programs or extracurriculars here. And a little bit about why I chose to come to Holy Cross. I just felt like immediately welcomed into the community, like everyone on this panel has echoed, I'm sure. And I also was really intrigued into the Jesuit education. I came from a public high school, and so the opportunity to have an education driven by this motto of for and with others was something that really drew me in, because I was very passionate about service during my high school years. I felt like this was the perfect opportunity for me to study and also have academic opportunities to conduct service, as well as engage in my passion for service outside the classroom as well.
Great, thank you all so much. Michaela, maybe you can start us off with this question. I know that all four of you have had the opportunity to participate in something a little unique to Holy Cross in our spring break immersion programs. So I'd love for you each to share a little bit about what that experience was like for you. And Michaela, you can maybe share just an overview of what the program is.
Yeah, so the Spring Break Immersion program is a week-long immersion trip run through the chaplain's office, and it's all student-run, student-led. You travel in a group of about like maybe 10 or so students down to different cities all around the country or different towns, and just get to know the community and perform service acts. It's a really special program, something unique to Holy Cross, and was something that really drew me to the school to begin with. I was really fortunate my first year to travel to Narrows, Virginia, and then my second year I traveled to Ivanhoe, Virginia as well, actually with Aiden, who's on the panel with me. And I got to engage in I got to immerse myself in both of these rural communities and just kind of get to know some really amazing people, and just do little acts of service around town to kind of help out. And both trips were both amazing for different reasons, but two really informative experiences in my Holy Cross path so far.
I can go next on this. I had a little bit of a different experience. So with Spring Break Immersion, I went to a LARSH site, which is a community for people with and without disabilities to live together and share life with each other. I absolutely loved it. I had the best week. I actually still talk to some of the members that I met that week. We go back with letters every now and again, which is awesome. But I think what stood out to me and still stands out to me with this program is that it's immersion. It's not a service opportunity. It's not just going into the community and giving something back to that community. You're going to gain just as much from them as you're going to provide. And I think that's really unique to Holy Cross. I think sometimes people can go on service trips and really go as to a savior or something to like go provide. But here at Holy Cross, we really emphasize the connection that you get and how much you grow and learn in that week from those people that you're able to encounter and meet.
I certainly could not agree more with what both Michaela and Tara said. And during my week-long excursion to Ivanhoe, Virginia, back in March 2020, I couldn't agree more in that I got out so much more than I put in working with the people in Ivanhoe. And just the way I look at it is, I think it's a great opportunity, Spring Break Immersion, to be alongside people that live an entirely different walk of life than maybe that you're familiar with. And let's be honest, I think no matter where you end up in college, sometimes it is a little bit of a bubble, just because you have so many people who are very similar, living with each other, taking classes with each other. And what I love most about Holy Cross is the ability to not trap you in that bubble, but to bring that bubble to other places. And for me, that was Ivanhoe on my spring break trip.
I was fortunate enough to go last year to my my site, which was Alamosa, Colorado. Like everyone else here, I went for about a week or so with a small cohort of students who I had never met on campus before. Although it's a very small campus, it's big enough so that you can always see a new face, which I also very much love about this campus. So within this group, we were able to meet so many individuals in the small town of Alamosa, a town that not many people really go visit. It's not like Denver or other places that are really well visited. And so it's a very tight-knit community of residents who love having people come in and be able to tour and be able to talk to them and overall experience a lot of things. We went to thrift stores and we just checked out a lot of small businesses that we also contributed to financially. And also we also offered our help, and we volunteered at one of the thrift stores unexpectedly. It was definitely not on the agenda, but it was a really nice experience. We got to sort out clothes for a lot of people, and lots of the residents were coming in specifically because they saw that there were so many people helping around. And we got to just listen about their life experiences. How did they end up in Alamosa? Some residents have been there their whole lives. And what is it that they do in Colorado? And they also asked us a lot of questions about the Northeast and wherever else that a lot of us were from, because we were from all over the country, just happening to come here to Worcester to study at this great college. But it was a really great experience that a lot of people took to learn about others, and as well as those in Colorado learned a lot about us, I would say, and it was definitely a give and take and overall wholesome experience.
Excellent, thank you. So spring break immersion is sort of this one-off, spend a week, travel elsewhere, in the country. But what about sort of the week in, week out, local Worcester opportunities? So many students on the call may have heard about SPUD, Student Programs and Urban Development, which is an umbrella organization of about 40 ongoing service projects in the city of Worcester. Aiden, can you talk a bit about your involvement with SPUD sites in Worcester?
Yes, I'd love to. So there are so many different organizations and programs that fall under the SPUD umbrella. I personally chose to, through my participation, sorry about that. Through my participation in SPUD, I decided to be a tutor. And so I did that for 2 years. I spent 1 year as a tutor at the local Worcester High School, North High School, and tutored a sophomore class. And then the next year, I was sort of more of a one-on-one tutor at Nativity School of Worcester, which works closely with Holy Cross in many ways. And so really, it was just a matter of wanting, I'm getting so much out of my academic career here at Holy Cross that really I viewed SPUD as a way to pay that forward to students who maybe are sort of not quite on the track to college, but want to get there. And that was the focus, especially of my freshman year. It was through the AVID program, which was to really put students on the path to college success and college readiness. So that was my personal involvement with SPUD. And I think it was really one of my more integral experiences my first couple of years.
Thank you, Aiden. And Michaela, can you talk a little bit about leadership opportunities in service, particularly as related to SPUD?
Yeah, absolutely. So like a lot of people on this call, I started out as a student volunteer for SPUD. I worked at Salvation Army in Worcester as an ESL tutor and bilingual tutor for Spanish and English speaking elementary school students. And my freshman year, I also worked at a homeless shelter near Holy Cross in their after school tutoring program. So very similar to what Aiden's experience in SPUD. This year, I was fortunate enough to be a SPUD community organizer. So I work alongside a group of about 7 other Holy Cross students. And something the organization of SPUD really emphasizes is the 2 feet of social justice. So on one hand, you have the small acts of charity, like donations of time, such as going to these sites, or like philanthropic donations, but then you also have the other side of advocating for social justice, which is looking at the bigger picture, seeing different issues happening and seeing how you can get involved and kind of having that lifelong passion for social justice. So as a community organizer, myself and other Holy Cross students, we kind of take a look at what's happening in Worcester and see how we can leverage our position at Holy Cross as SPUD volunteers and also as an organization as a whole to get involved and kind of combat these issues and to get involved in our community as well. And we have been able to do this remotely through the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, I can't volunteer in person with my students like I have in years past, but I've been very grateful this year to be able to collaborate with Holy Cross students and take a look at what Worcester needs, even last semester when I wasn't able to be physically on campus or in the city of Worcester as well.
Great, thank you. One of the things I really appreciate about service at Holy Cross and Holy Cross in general is some of the blurred lines sometimes between the academic, the personal, the social, and service. So one of those areas is the opportunity for community-based learning. So an academic experience that also sort of incorporates some type of service or interaction with the community. So Stacy, I'd love to have you talk a little bit about your experience with community-based learning.
Of course. So the first semester of my freshman year, I stumbled upon this course that said it was community-based learning. I had no clue what that was, and I was like, that sounds really cool. It was part of my social ethics class, which is a cool twist on our religion course that also talks about current events. And in that course, we were able to go to different sites where we would be able to meet the needs of the community and overall just engage with a lot of people, the residents of Worcester. I decided to go more of a non-academic route, and I volunteered at the YMCA with students in high school in the city of Worcester who were just after school enjoying their time at the YMCA. If they needed any help with academics, I was also there, but I was also there as a resource just to work out with or play any games with, and overall just have someone else that they could talk to. A lot of these students also didn't have anyone around with any background in college experience or anything like that. So it was actually really helpful for me to be there, I would say, because they were able to ask me lots of questions when we were playing games. And it was a really great interactive experience that I will forever cherish. And I still talk to some of the students from the program as well. Although for me, it was just a semester program. And I loved it so much that the next semester, I decided to take another community-based learning class with my Aging and Societies class, where we were also able to choose the location in Worcester where we wanted to spend a few hours a week and overall just enjoy the presence of a lot of Worcester residents.
Thank you, Stacy. I want to switch gears a little from the service question to talk a little bit about the social justice side of it. So Tara, can you talk a bit about Pax Christi and what that is and how you've been involved?
Yeah, so Pax Christi is a club on campus, and it is a social justice group rooted in spiritual or faith-based background, but all faiths are welcome, and even whatever you identify with, everyone's welcome. And we kind of tackle different social justice topics every week. So I have been in the club for the past 3 years, and I am now one of the co-chairs for the club, and we kind of make it a discussion where no matter what your level or knowledge on the social justice issue is at hand, we go over with a few videos and articles to start off our meeting so that everyone kind of has a basis or better understanding of the topic. And we kind of dive into conversation about how personally we fit into these social justice issues, what they mean to us, and then what they mean to us as a campus here at Holy Cross, and how we as a campus can further and make this a more just world for not only us, but everywhere. And then also outside of the Holy Cross gates, how can we bring this into the Worcester community and the larger world? Every year we have a couple events that are bigger that we celebrate, and that's one we call Paxmas, and that's around Christmas time, and we always coordinate with a Worcester charity. This year we did the Catholic Charities, and we donate and raise money to the charity to kind of fulfill the wish list that they have for the kids in the program. And then another big thing that we do is a couple months out of the year when we are able to, and kind of the past few years we've done it, and we weren't able to do it this year just because of some health and safety reasons, but we always go into Worcester and partnered with a place called the Mustard Seed, which is like homeless shelter and a food bank that we go in and we talk to the community members and have a meal with them, which is always an awesome opportunity.
Excellent. So we wouldn't be a Jesuit school if we didn't talk about discernment and reflection, which of course are sort of baked into much of what we do at Holy Cross. So Michaela, I'd love for you to share a bit about the work you've done related to retreats, particularly surrounding service.
Yeah,
and social justice.
Yeah, so I work through the chaplain's office for the Joyce Contemplative Center, which is about 15 minutes from campus. I believe it was actually featured on the college's Instagram today, so if you want to go check that out and see a better picture of it. It's a beautiful facility for students and faculty to go on retreat. I worked with other classmates and friends to set up for the retreat, so set up spaces that were designed to have, these deeper conversations, maybe dive more into about spiritual or faith-based questions. And just generally make sure the facility is up and running for students who are coming in or for faculty as well. Reflection is a huge part of the Holy Cross experience. You're definitely encouraged to do so on your own and in a retreat setting throughout your 4 years. One of the things I got to participate on at the JCC was my first year. We were able to go on Beyond Spring Break, which was after after my trip. We went to a couple weeks after we went to the Joyce Contemplative Center, and we were able to gather as a group and with other groups that traveled to the Appalachian region as well, and kind of reflect on what had happened, what we had seen, what experiences we all shared as a group, and what we could do to kind of perpetuate working towards these social justice initiatives and making sure that these experiences were meaningful and we could do more than just the week long of service that we engaged with. And I also was fortunate enough last spring, I was supposed to go to an in-person retreat at the Joyce Contemplative Center, but sadly due to COVID that couldn't happen. But I did the community toss retreat over Zoom, which was really amazing. It was put on through the chaplain's office, and it was something that really helped me continue reflecting even when I wasn't physically on campus or physically at the JCC, but to connect with my peers as well and engage in this deeper reflection about what we were going through, what we wanted to do, and what we were hoping to accomplish once we got back to campus.
Great, thank you, Michaela. Aiden, I'd love it if you could share a bit about your recent research project that you've worked on and how it ties into the topic of tonight.
I'd love to talk about my research. So I had the opportunity, even in the midst of the first several months of the pandemic, to do some summer research with a member or a faculty member of the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, whom I had for class twice before. She approached me and asked if I had any interest in working on this research project. And it was essentially a project very deeply rooted in social justice. It was called Good Citizen, Good Society. And essentially, in a nutshell, it was aimed at developing and assessing the most useful means of raising students as citizens in the United States. So in other words, students K through 12. As all of our attendees tonight know, school is a very powerful agent for socialization, especially in the lives of young people. And so what we did with our research was we said that schools, okay, if they're so powerful in raising people, to be aware and conscious as citizens, how exactly can we ensure that that's going to be done in the most effective way? And so we looked at things like just how powerfully schools are, teaching students to petition local leaders for changes they need to enact. A big part of our research was we did some coding of textbooks, civics textbooks. Civics as a class has largely been absorbed by social studies curricula around the country. But that said, the message is the same. Schools should definitely be teaching students to be active and informed citizens in all ways, especially once you get up to 18 years old and you have the power of the vote. But it starts years before that. And I really enjoyed my research and just how heavily focused it was on the idea of social justice and inspiring change.
Thank you, Aiden. So as many of you may know, Holy Cross is a highly residential campus. Most students do live on campus for all 4 years. So there's quite a community experience for students living on campus. And Stacy, I'd love for you to talk a bit about your experience as a resident assistant, as an RA, and the work that you've done to incorporate social justice and service concepts into the work with your residents.
So as an RAs are the middlemen between the student and the rest of res life, is kind of the way I'd like to see it. So whatever kind of concerns, questions, or anything like that we can't happen to answer, we have support right there, able to answer any questions. And this is very important for any social justice things that are going on at the moment, especially with current events that are fortunately going on around the country right now. The resident's life is doing its best to try and accommodate for the uncomfortability that a lot of students are facing right now. And we are definitely also a support group. Something that we also take very seriously is the educational curriculum that RAs have to follow throughout the year. So we host programs for the hall and the overall building because there are RAs in every single floor of the building where there are residents living, but we also come together as a whole building and throw programs where we are able to educate the hall and all the residents within it on how to be better citizens, be better civilians, be there for and with others all over campus, within the Worcester community, everywhere where we go. Simple things as what kind of language we use in order to be more inclusive to people from all kinds of background. And we try to really incorporate a lot of concepts of how to understand and be mindful of diversity within the community, how we have to fight for these social changes that need to undergo within these years. We talk about all of these important things that I think a lot of our residents really enjoy. Because of COVID right now, we are not able to do these in person, but we do them over Zoom. We do also passive programs, which I did a program just recently on the overall body shaming of women and how we have to learn about all of these things. And I'm the RA for a floor of women, and we were able to come together and just really talk about how women in society are really pressurized to look a certain way, be a certain way. But these are very important questions for us to talk about. And that way we're able to really build a stronger connection as a community and understand each other on a better level.
So, Stacy, you said the magic words, due to COVID, and we hear that a lot these days, that there are opportunities that are canceled or put on hold or not quite what we had expected, and that's, of course, understandable. But for those of you who have had the chance to, continue to participate in service or social justice work during the pandemic, particularly if you've done it in a different way than before the pandemic, I'd be really interested to hear a bit about that.
I can speak to that. As a SPED community organizer, and it looked a lot different this year than in years past. So I've only met with my fellow community organizers, unfortunately, over Zoom for the whole year. But something we were able to do with SPED as an organization in a collaboration with other student volunteers, program directors, and interns for the SPED program, we were able to do a fundraiser over Venmo, actually, for the Nativity School in Worcester around Thanksgiving time, and just went to donating money to buy food and Thanksgiving dinner for different families affected in the Worcester community, particularly those affected by COVID and weren't able to procure a nice Thanksgiving dinner. We were also able to phone bank for the election for voters in Worcester. We were able to do that remotely and just get people involved in social justice issues and educate Worcester citizens on what their local vote and also their city vote and what also their state and federal vote would look like in the years to come. And something we've been working on this semester is there's a current lawsuit being filed against the Worcester Public Schools that deal with making sure that students are being properly treated in the school program. So we've been talking to different leaders of different social justice initiatives in the city of Worcester to see how we as a Holy Cross community can help specifically through SPUD.
And I would just add on to that in terms of how we're continuing the work, even in the midst of such trying circumstances. We do lose, in fact, a lot of face-to-face interaction in terms of the people and community members we work with in Worcester and beyond due to the pandemic. But that said, I think that Holy Cross students still have, unprecedented access to one another, even if it is behind the screen of Zoom. And there's a lot of think tanks that go on. I've noticed an uptick in the workshops that go on. There was a really great workshop series that I took part in last semester. It was 5 or 6 weeks. It was called Becoming a White Ally for Racial Justice, and it was put on by the Office of Multicultural Education. And so my whole approach was just wanting to bounce as many ideas off of my classmates and peers as I possibly could during those 6 weeks. And it was a bit of a shame that we weren't able to walk out into the Worcester community and work with local activists and organizations, but all of us understood at the same time that that is the end game. And we were committed in the meantime just to staying in touch with one another and just making sure that we are keeping up to date with everything that's happening right now in the world, so that when that time comes, we're ready to go out there and be crusaders and men and women formed with others.
Also adding on that, I know as a group, Pax Christi has changed its way a little bit in the past year and a half into a virtual format. Instead of meeting in person, we meet online and still have like a robust conversation. We sometimes do small breakout rooms, and we still have been able to find community while also reaching out to the Worcester community at the same time. As I mentioned earlier, we still have been able to do our Christmas drives and similar activities and raising awareness about things and places in Worcester that still need our support, even when we can't be there in physical presence. And then another thing that I have been able to do even while virtual is through a class that is usually community-based learning. I'm taking Latin for my language requirement, and it's usually you would go into the Worcester Public Schools and help fourth graders to expose them to the language, just because Latin as a dead language can be more of a privileged language to learn, and most public schools don't offer it. So just trying to make that equal access, and the pandemic never stopped us. We actually still do it online. We create lesson plans for the fourth graders to watch on their own, and then they come back and chat with us still.
I'll tag along here as well. So during this semester, I've actually been able to be a statistical research associate for one of the historical professors here on campus who focuses on the Latin American and Caribbean regions of the world. So I have been able to help Professor Carrasquillo with her research on the visual culture of slavery in the Dominican Republic, which is also my homeland. So it's very interesting to me, and we're able to look at textbooks from K to 12 and how this culture of slavery is still embedded in a lot of the textbooks, as well as a lot of statues, and a lot of places within the country are still dedicated to horrendous people in our history. So because of this, we've also been able to talk to students internationally over Zoom. We've been able to meet with students from Ecuador. We've been able to meet with students from universities in the Dominican Republic as well, and be able to have these conversations on every third Friday, I think it is, of every month. So it's been a really interesting process where we've been able to talk about the kind of problems that are ongoing in our countries, and specifically in my own research, we just focus on the Dominican Republic, and it's also helping to influence the teachings of her race. It's called Raza y Identidad, which is the race and identity course that she teaches, that I'm also very fortunate enough to be in. And overall, just be able to help a lot of students on campus, and as well as a lot of students outside of campus, because of the Worcester Consortium. Students also outside of Holy Cross are able to take classes with us, are able to learn about these things and be able to be more aware of why certain things are the way they are around the world, and how to try and change these things for the better. Because of this, I'm trying to really find ways in order for me to educate a lot of people that I know in the Dominican Republic on why this is all wrong, on the slavery culture that's still there. And if it weren't because of the opportunities as a research associate for the professor, a program that's open to many students on campus, it only takes a simple application and lots of interest. And it's all possible even during COVID.
Thank you all. So I have another question for each of you, if you will. You're all clearly very involved in general at Holy Cross, but particularly in service and work related to social justice. Were you involved in this type of work in high school or prior to coming to Holy Cross? And how does a student get involved with this type of thing at Holy Cross? You have high school students watching right now who want to be you someday. So how do they get from where they are to where you are?
For me, the answer is just being open to anything. I feel as though I came to Holy Cross with an open heart and an open mind. It was sort of easy during that last summer between my high school graduation and my first year at Holy Cross to let go of a lot of the things I felt strongly about in high school. I was fairly involved in social justice and service in high school. I was part of what was called the Arupe Society, named after Father Pedro Arupe, a Jesuit who devoted his entire life to social justice, and had the opportunity in my hometown of Rochester to open up a food cupboard for refugees in the cities to help their families out in trying times. And interestingly, it went really well. It's one of the things that I miss more about high school, and I wish, if there's one reason I wish I had stuck closer to home in going to college, it would have been just to stay involved in that. But that said, I came to Holy Cross and realized that there were the opportunities were abundant, and All you need to do is just keep your ears open, keep your eyes on your email. All of these things, that's the beauty of social media. Everything is out there right now. And obviously all it takes is a conversation and just trying something that maybe you haven't tried before, or realizing that your past experiences may speak very highly to what you feel strong about, and just keeping the ball rolling.
On top of being open, I would say be open for all 4 years. Just because you don't do it your first year doesn't mean you can't do it for the rest of your time. If here at Holy Cross or wherever you end up at, I, in high school, was very social justice and service oriented. A lot of it was through my church and my youth group and certain programming through that. That's how I became a part of it. And when I came to Holy Cross my first year, I kind of was like, maybe I'll take a step back. Maybe I'll like reinvent the wheel for me in college. Like maybe I'll be a different Tara. Not that like I didn't want to care about social justice. I just maybe wanted to branch out. And at the end of my freshman year, I was like, it's not for me. I want to go back to my roots. So a lot of the involvements that I've been talking about tonight, I actually got back into my sophomore year, and I didn't do a lot of them my first year, but I still continue to grow and learn from them. So I would say be open, not just in your first year, but all of your years.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Tara, and like not and kind of being fearless in a way a little bit, and just being willing to pivot. And if something isn't working or you want to try something, don't be afraid to give it a go. I mean, Holy Cross has so many opportunities and so many different things to find something that you click with. I didn't start SPUD until the second semester my freshman year. I went to the SPUD co-curricular extravaganza at the beginning of my fall semester. Kind of got a little overwhelmed, to be honest, just being a freshman and coming in. I was involved in service all 4 years of high school. I didn't go to a Jesuit or Catholic high school, but it was something I was really passionate about. I tutored one-on-one with different students involved with this program called Aslan, which was at the middle school in the neighboring town to me. And then for 2 or 3 summers in high school, I can't remember exactly right now, I worked as a teacher's assistant in a first grade class for bilingual students, a lot of whom were from Latin America and South America as well. So I worked alongside their teacher to kind of help translate as I was taking Spanish classes at the time, and still am at Holy Cross. So it's something I was always passionate about. It was something that I decided to come back to my second semester, my freshman year. It's something I'm so grateful that I did, because it has been such an informative experience, and it's been something that has allowed me not only to connect with Worcester, my passion for social justice, but also to make some really amazing friends who I wouldn't have met if not for getting involved in service and social justice. So I think Aiden and Tara have a great point, just being kind of open to everything, just kind of being fearless and diving in head first just to see what works for you.
I didn't really get involved into social justice until I think my senior year of high school. I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't know what social justice was. It wasn't something that was really taught to me. I don't know. I came from an urban area, public school, where social justice was not really a thing. A lot of us were experiencing, I guess, the worst end of the whole social justice spectrum. But I did end up getting involved with the Rhode Island Department of Education. I realized I really had a passion for education, how I really wanted to learn a bit more in order to someday transform the education system in Providence, only because I definitely think that the marginalized students in Providence deserve much more than what they are currently getting. And that's something that I want to become involved in. And then I was also lucky enough to be part of a college access program in high school as well. And then I ended up interning at that college access program. And I was also able to help students like who were in my shoes, students who wanted to be in my shoes, but I totally understood where they were because I had totally been there. And it was rough having to go through all of this, but the learning experience was amazing because then I was able to help other people. And it's something that I obviously carried here. I did CBL without thinking of the whole social justice aspect of it, just because I really wanted to be part of the community. And then slowly at the end of freshman year, I became the community outreach liaison for the Latin American Student Organization, where I've also been able to partake in a lot of social justice opportunities and just putting on events for awareness, and as well as involving politics and just overall trying to be a support system for a lot of students who need it. So yes.
Thank you. There's a great question in the chat asking about if, as a whole, if Holy Cross students are really interested or sort of share these same values around social justice. So did we just happen to pick the 4 students on campus who are really into this, or is it a bigger thing for our Holy Cross students?
If I were to guess, I think it's a little bit of both. Obviously, the 4 of us were equipped and really wanted to speak on this very topic just because we think it's such a wonderful part of the Holy Cross experience. But at large, I think that it definitely is something that's ingrained to some extent within the Holy Cross psyche. We talk about being and becoming men and women for and with others. And I think it's inevitable in large part that becomes some part of your Holy Cross experience. We've touched just during this, the 40 minutes of this webinar so far about the opportunities for spring break, something that hundreds and hundreds of students do every year, spring break immersion, that is. But then also just how social justice and service can be interwoven in the classroom in terms of community-based learning. Stacy and I mentioned some research positions that we were associated with. And then, just by and large, I think that Holy Cross students generally are committed to the greater good, whether that's in a spiritual, religious sense or their orientation towards social justice. So I would very much agree with the claim that it is something Holy Cross students do hold near to their heart.
Yeah, to echo with what Aiden said and to go off of it, I mean, SPUD is the largest student organization on campus, so you definitely get a majority of the student population involved in conducting service off campus in Worcester and getting to know the community that way and kind of committing to that passion for social justice and getting involved in different opportunities related to that. And even if you aren't committed to doing weekly service, I feel like Aiden's right. It's a big part of our psyche, and I feel like even if you aren't conducting service in Worcester, you're being of service to your classmates. I think all 4 of us touched upon how much we love the Holy Cross community, and a big part of that is just being of service to each other, and that comes in small actions like smiling when you see someone, waving. Everybody holds the door for you. Everybody's willing to be friendly to you. I mean, we are a very kind and welcoming campus, and I feel like that's a really great representation of that motto, for and with others, being men and women for that motto. And I feel like that's something really unique to Holy Cross and something that I'm so proud of to be a part of, whether that be in my involvement in SPUD or just being a Holy Cross student. I feel like you're going to be of service to one another, whether you kind of like it or not, and you're going to just become be a great community member in that way.
I can only echo what both of them have already said, but when I saw this question pop in, I honestly was thinking about like all the people that I know, and I was thinking about like, did they participate in service or like have any part of like SPUD or anything? And every single person I've run through my mind in the last 2 minutes has participated in some way. And I know it's not just because of the company I keep, but because of the community we have here at Holy Cross. I also think outside of the classroom, a lot of people want to do it for their own, like their passion and what they're interested in. But I also think a lot of professors like bring it up every day, like if not one day in the course. So I think it'd be really hard to go through Holy Cross without experiencing it, at least through the classroom, no matter your major or what classes you're in. I have friends that are math majors that talk about social justice within that. I'm a psych major, so I talk about it a lot. Like I don't know anyone that hasn't encountered social justice and service in their time at Holy Cross personally.
Just going off of what everyone said, I think what's really important about Holy Cross is thinking about the fact that we have common area requirements and how everyone from every discipline is some way, somehow exposed to social justice, is exposed to all of these wonderful things. In the upcoming years, we're trying to get a new ethics department. So we are able to have more concentration in that whole aspect, but it's definitely interwoven into almost every single department here in one way or another. And I just think that everyone should take classes outside of what they think they're interested in or that they're going to come to Holy Cross to study. I mean, regardless, you're going to have to, which is a good thing. A lot of us really like that. But I definitely think that it'll also help you really understand yourself. College is all about learning about your identity, really experimenting. It's all trial and error. You're obviously not forced to do things that you don't want to do or anything like that. In terms of if you don't want to be part of certain communities, you don't have to be. But for the most part, everyone's really willing to be in some kind of involvement with social justice. So yes, that's really lovely about our campus.
Thank you. As we start to get close to our closing time here, I just want to put in a plug to please continue to put questions in the Q&A if you have them, so we make sure we get to them. Michaela and Tara, I would love for you to just share a little bit about the work that you both do at Campion House with the chaplain's office.
Yeah, so before COVID, I was working in the chaplain's office in Campion House as a student baker. So I would once a week go in early in the morning and bake cookies for the greater campus community. So you're welcome to stop into the office at any time, run in, grab a cookie, run out. I know that's something my friends would do all the time if they knew that I was baking. Definitely makes you a little bit popular in your friend group. And I also, again, like what I mentioned earlier, I worked preparing retreats. So I would go to the JCC and set up the different rooms that students stayed in if it was an overnight retreat. And I would set up the spaces so that it was designed to have those be directed towards having meaningful reflection. So being involved in Campion has been one of my favorite things at Holy Cross, if not my absolute favorite. Something I definitely talk a lot about with my friends. And it's been something that's been helpful in me connecting with my community members and getting to know the different chaplains and different opportunities Holy Cross has to offer.
I was also a student baker, and it definitely made me the popular one in my friend group. It was the best job I could have ever had on campus. It's great to get to know the chaplains and all that they offer. You get to learn a lot about just what campus is doing and is about. So it's a great center on campus. And I also would be sad to not mention that Campion House is a literal house. It's not just a building on campus, and it really truly feels like a home. It is the hub of part of our campus, and it's really important, not just to me, but a lot of people. And so those camping cookies entice you to get in the door, but once you're in the door, it's kind of hard to leave because it attracts a lot of people. But this year, I also have another position through them, and it's a note to self program, and it's in our chapel this semester. Every single day, students are welcome and invited to come into the chapel and write a letter either to your future self, to someone on campus, or to someone off campus. And all postage is paid for, and it's just an experience to really sit in the chapel, have some reflection, and really reflect on who you are, who you want to be, and who you want to be for others, and kind of rekindle those friendships that maybe have been missing while being virtual, and to connect with people at home while you're away.
Thank you. And that dovetails very nicely into the last question that I realized I sent to everyone, all the panelists, not to the attendees, not just the panelists. So spoiler alert for my last question. And I'm putting you on the spot because I didn't tell you until I put it in the chat that I would ask this. When you think about your future self, as you said, Tara, and for some of you, your post-Holy Cross life is bearing down on you sooner than for others. What do you think your experiences at Holy Cross, particularly related to service, solidarity, social justice, how might those experiences impact you as you go out into the world and think about your career and your life and how you want to contribute to the world? And I know that's a big, weighty question. So I'd love to hear anything you can share.
In my opinion, it's really just a way of life. It's a lens through which a person comes to view the world. And, none of us, well, I shouldn't even say that, but there is going to be a point at which each one of us does, in fact, move on from walking around campus at Holy Cross. As Lynn mentioned, some of us sooner rather than later. But of course, that's not the end of the story, nor should it be. Whether that's doing a year after graduation in some sort of service or some capacity. I don't have the number, but I know that the number of graduates that choose to do that their first year removed from college is actually pretty staggering coming from Holy Cross. So that's always an option to look into. But then just as you look toward future employers or where you want to end up, I think it's just about finding the right fit and finding a company or a group whose ideals really resonate with your own. And I think that so much of what that entails is just, am I working somewhere? Am I working for someone who upholds justice and equity in all aspects? And I think that's something that Holy Cross graduates are definitely able, at the end of their 4 years, they're able to do that better than most.
I know that my time at Holy Cross so far has really shaped my attitude in being a woman for and with others, and just kind of being of service to others in any way that I can. And, continuing that postgrad, I think Aiden said it perfectly, that I'm going to look for that throughout my whole career in whatever direction that takes me. Holy Cross was working in the chaplain's office specifically, but also my experience at Holy Cross introduced me to programs like the Jesuit Volunteer Corps and other years of service after graduation that I learned about and become familiar with. It's definitely my goal after I graduate next spring, which I'm kind of in denial about. Don't really want to leave the Hill yet, but something I definitely want to pursue. And I just want to spend my career and the rest of my life with this attitude instilled in me and kind of continue that in whatever I choose to do. And it's something that's forever going to be a part of me. And that's all thanks to my experience at Holy Cross.
So after I graduate, I plan to be working in higher ed because I really love education, as I've stated before. And so the experience that I've had at Holy Cross has really shaped my outlook on a lot of things. And because I've learned how to be a support system for students on campus, whether that's being a resident assistant, whether that's being a support system for international students that I do Zoom calls with, et cetera, I will be able to take this no matter where I go after I graduate. And if I end up working in education, I'll be able to pass this along to students. Even if I'm not working at Holy Cross, which I hope that I am. But I really do hope to be able to pass this down to a lot of students. Incoming students, I've also been able to pass certain things down to, which I'm very happy to say that I've been able to do, as well as other students who have been here before me have done with me. And it's something that I'll continue to do outside of Holy Cross and for the rest of my life.
In full denial that I have to leave within the next month. So this is a question that I feel like I've answered every single day. And the dreaded question of, do you have a job yet, is still a no, but I'm in the process. But I love when people ask me how Holy Cross has shaped my post-grad and what I hope to do. And it has shaped me in every single way. The person that entered the Hill 4 years ago is definitely not the same one that's leaving. And it's a better, prouder growth of a human that's leaving. And it's someone that's really wants to change the world. And even if it's just one world and it's just one person's life, then I'm going to do something amazing with it. And my job search has definitely been tailored to more nonprofits and companies that I am able to interact with others and help them get through their daily lives and kind of shape how they go through each day. But I've also looked into just like company ethics more because of my social justice participation here at school, and just making sure the company that I will work for one day is not just a company that will provide me a job, but also something that I really stand behind and I'm proud to work for.
Thank you all so much. That was wonderful. So we are going to wrap up. I want to really offer sincere thanks to all of our panelists. I'm so impressed by all of you and so grateful for your time and your input, especially during what I know is a really, really busy time during the semester. To all the admitted students and guests joining us tonight, thank you for spending time with us. We really appreciate your time as well. We really would like to continue this conversation with you. Please consider attending another event in this series. The next is a Student Clubs and Activities Fair this Sunday, April 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. My colleague will put the link to register in the chat, though you can find it easily on the admitted student website. And of course, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at any time. We are happy to answer your questions. We will just take a quick minute before we close the event, just if anybody wants to click that link. And otherwise, good night, and thank you so much for joining us.